Good evening and welcome to Crossroads. New York City has come up with a new solution to help solve the crisis of illegal immigrants who are threatening to bankrupt the city and throw us all into a spiral of crime. Build a huge mega project and let them all live in it for free. What a concept! What better way to dissuade people from entering the country illegally, looking for an easier life, than to promise them an easy life if they enter the country illegally. Now, the new location for this migrant camp will be a vacant office building in Long Island City. It's one of the nicest spots in Queens, just across the water from Manhattan. It's actually close to the area where they were going to build a second Amazon headquarters a few years back, which you might remember would have created between 25,000 to 40,000 good-paying jobs for the city. That was, before Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez helped get it canceled because, why have jobs when you can have free housing? But back to that new migrant center, the one they're going to build for them. The 5-story building was converted to offices back in 2020. Since then, it's actually been left empty. But because a lot of businesses in New York never came back and their offices are just left empty, essentially, after the pandemic lockdowns, well, it's still there. The plan is to have it soon be the home for about 1,000 illegal immigrants who are on the seemingly indefinite wait list to claim asylum in the United States. And they're proud of this project. Here's Deputy Mayor William Isom announcing it.
We are announcing the opening of the new Humanitarian Relief Center at Austell Place in Long Island City, Queens. Makes this the city's 16th large humanitarian relief center as part of the more than 200 shelter sites the city is operating. Let's think about this. It's been little over a year, and we've opened 200 plus sites in support to move more than 100,000 new arrivals who have come to the city since April of 2022.
Now, the top 4 floors of it, they're going to allegedly be rebuilt for housing. The bottom floor is going to be a community gathering spot. Already it's been converted into a respite site, is what they're calling it, that's going to help shelter people, flooding into the city. And flooding into the city, they sure are. Just since last spring, in fact, the New York City has gotten over 110,000 illegal immigrants. And that number just keeps on growing. In fact, it's growing by about 1,000 people every single day. In New York City alone, by the way, not just the whole country. Many of these people are not pulling their own weight. They're looking to the American taxpayer to do that job for them. Now, the city is currently taking care of over 59,000 illegal immigrants, and it's looking to cost American citizens a whole lot of money for that, free housing, free food, and all the other luxury services. In January this year, New York City Mayor Eric Adams said the cost of illegal immigrants to the American taxpayer would be about $2 billion, already double what his office had budgeted. And now, about 8 months since then, because it's gotten worse, Mayor Adams is estimating it's going to cost taxpayers $12 billion to house and care for the illegal immigrants over 3 years.
With more than 57,300 individuals currently in our care, on an average night, that amounts to $9.8 million a day, almost $300 million a month, and nearly $3.6 billion a year. But this is the floor, not the ceiling. This is only an estimate if the number of migrants in our care stays the same over time.
You heard him right. $9.8 million every single day to support our new neighbors. And that number is only likely going to grow.
If things do not change, our new estimates have us spending nearly $5 billion on this crisis in the current fiscal year. That's up from the $1.4 billion we spent last fiscal year, and it nearly equals the budgets of Sanitation Department, our Parks Department, and the FDNY combined if we do not change course. That means over the course of 3 fiscal years, our city is projected to have spent more than $12 billion.
$12 billion over 3 years. And notably, that's estimating if they don't continue increasing the number here over that period of time. And also, that might very possibly not even be the end of it. You see, that now new mega project to house the illegal immigrants, that's actually just one of many housing projects they're building for them. It's one of many actually still to come. It's what the city is calling humanitarian response and relief centers. The office building they're renovating in Long Island City, that'll be the 16th one the city has been operating. And that's in addition to the 206 emergency shelters that New Yorkers are financing, to give homes to the illegal immigrants. Now, those emergency shelters aren't the migrant camps either. They're not the normal ones you normally think of. Look, if I were to think migrant housing or migrant camp, I'm thinking military cots. I'm thinking buckets of water with, rags for people to wash themselves with. But no, not in these parts. New York City has been using some of its nicest hotels to, give free houses to the illegal immigrants. The Roosevelt Hotel, for example, gets the most attention. The hotel is owned by the government of Pakistan, meaning the money doesn't go to America. It's being used to house illegal alien families in 850 rooms. There's also the 250-room Redbury Hotel. There's the 1,331-room Row Hotel. The very long list goes on. And many of these have even reportedly been giving people free room service. And by free, I mean free for the illegal immigrants. Myself and others who pay taxes in New York City, we're the ones picking up the tab for them. Now, those hotels are also pretty dang fancy. Just housing illegal immigrants at 2 of those hotels, in fact, has cost about $35 million. And this is happening as the city is not only risking going bankrupt, but also at risk of being outright destroyed. And this isn't me saying that, right? The city's being destroyed. The very Democratic New York City Mayor, Eric Adams, he's the one saying it.
We're getting no support on this national crisis, and we're receiving no support. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month.
Now, remember, New York City is already technically bankrupt. It has a deficit of about $12 billion. But that's not stopping them. They're spending money like a kid with a credit card. The city tried getting even more money for all this recently. In fact, local leaders tried slipping through a $432 million spending package, not for American citizens, not for the homeless. No, $432 million to help take care of the illegal immigrants. Then New York City Comptroller Brad Lander shot down that request earlier this week. He wrote in a September 5th statement that aside from the several inconsistencies on whether they actually need that money and whether the money actually represents what they claim they're going to use it for, they say the real goal here is something else. They want money from the federal government. They want to share the load, so to speak. They want the whole country to help pay through federal taxes. Comptroller Lander wrote through the request, to the local money. He said this: "It appears to be in direct contradiction to Mayor Adams' forthright and consistent advocacy for a stronger response and partnership from the federal government." However, despite the comptroller's concerns, Mayor Eric Adams said they're still going ahead with the contract, saying, quote, "We can't change the rules in the middle of the game. I think the comptroller probably saw an opportunity to just get in the conversation." He's overriding the comptroller to spend money we don't have. But of course, this isn't the plan forever. The big plan is to find jobs for all those Americans in waiting. New York Governor Kathy Hochul recently unveiled a plan to get work permits for all the illegal immigrants. And once they get those work permits, those 100,000 and counting people are going to get to join the 380,000 unemployed New Yorkers, all able to find some work.
That's why today I have sent a letter to President Biden formally requesting immediate executive action in 4 key areas. First, expedited work authorization so we can get these people out of shelters and into the jobs.
Well, look, until then, until they can get jobs, New York City has some real problems on its hands. Aside from the cause of housing and feeding and caring for the steady flow of illegal immigrants, the city also has to care for them in other ways. That includes, for example, education. And public schools opened this week, and the underfunded and low-performing schools were greeted with 21,000 new students of the illegal immigrants. Many schools actually had to turn kids away, not because they didn't want them, but because they couldn't fit them. They didn't have the capacity in the buildings for them. And that's just day one. As things go on, they're going to also have to figure out how to give them special language programs, for example, with everything they try to teach in the schools. That's also probably where the request for federal government money comes into play. New York City looks like it's throwing its hands in the air. It can't handle the problem anymore. Well, everyone, that's it for YouTube. For the rest of the episode, come join us on Epic TV, where we have movies, documentaries, other shows, and the rest of this episode. We'll still be talking about the World Economic Forum agenda for all of us, bypassing the forms of elections around the world to force the hand of government and to do things not through government even, but through corporations trying to play the role of government in our lives. We'll talk about exactly what's going on with them, some of the real wild stuff we probably can't even talk about on YouTube, and a lot of other things. We'll also be going into how Fulton County was recommending charges against many other individuals tied to the Trump case, and probably why that didn't happen. Some interesting stuff going on. Again, 25 cents a week. We have a flash sale going on right now for Epic TV. Link in the description. I'll see you there.
People from 160 countries illegally cross the U.S.-Mexico border and give themselves up to Border Patrol. But what about the ones who evade Border Patrol? These are known as the gotaways.
You can safely assume that anybody that went through the extra effort to avoid U.S. Border Patrol was not an asylum seeker by default.
It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but somewhere down the road, if somebody rapes and kills somebody, and we find out that they came through here on my watch, that's unacceptable.
These men had surrounded my house. They were banging on my back door. They were banging on my front door.
You can't understand it unless you're out here seeing it every day. 21 dead bodies on the property.
Code 3 response.
Is it wrong to ask people to come to your front door of your home? Then why would it be wrong to ask people to come to the front door of our nation?
Their primary goal is to circumvent the checkpoints, go undetected.
People that do not want to surrender, those are going to be the potential terrorists, the criminals, the real threat to the U.S.
We were hoping the federal government would step in and do something, but they didn't.
We have no clue who they are or where they're going. That's the scary part.